There are less than 2 weeks to go until Queenslanders take to the polls at the October 31st state election. And as the countdown continues, we've got some breaking news on the campaign's most anticipated showdown. Annastacia Palaszczuk and Frecklington will go head-to-head at the People's Forum next Wednesday, October 28th, hosted by Sky News and The Courier-Mail. The two leaders will take questions from a group of undecided voters live from Brisbane, just three days out from the Queensland election. Has Premier Palaszczuk done enough during the pandemic to return to the top job for a third term, or will the LNP's Law and Order campaign help them win back a number of key regional seats and get them over the line? The exclusive one-hour forum will be live at 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Sky News and Sky News on Win. From the policies to the personalities and, of course, the pandemic, this will be the defining debate of the Queensland election. So make sure you tune in. Let's bring in my Sky News colleague, Sky News Across Australia host and Courier-Mail journalist Peter Gleeson. Peter, this debate will be one of the most defining features of the campaign. It's always interesting to see politicians when they've got to face real Queenslanders, real Australians, and face their questions. There's no ducking and diving, is there?
There isn't, Kieran, and it's great to see that announcement that you've just made, because I think under the blowtorch environment of that particular forum, we're going to see some real issues and policies come to the fore. Kieran, this is probably the most important election in Queensland in a generation. I mean, it's a 4-year term now. 4 years the next government in Queensland gets. And, of course, Annastacia Palaszczuk very much making this an election based on her handling of the COVID-19 crisis, the pandemic. It's essentially a referendum on that, Kieran, in many respects, because she's saying she's kept Queenslanders safe. And we saw at the weekend where Jacinda Ardern basically did the same electioneering platform and came out with a landslide win. So there is plenty of we saw it in the NT, we saw it in, of course, the ACT. So there's plenty of precedents there for that. But of course, Kieran, the LNP, they're trying to spell out a plan. They're trying to spell out an economic recovery for Queensland, because Queensland's economy is in the doldrums. It was in the doldrums before COVID. We've got the highest unemployment rate in Australia here. But I think a lot of it's being suffocated. There's some issues around getting traction in this election, and 12 days out, the bookies have got Annastacia Palaszczuk a very short price favourite. The polling suggests that she'll get home, and as I said last week, Kieran, when I was doing my trip to North Queensland, that's the key. If the LNP can pick up some seats in Townsville and Cairns and possibly Mackay and Rocky, we may see a different result.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that. The forum in Brisbane, and really the last chance for Frecklington to try and make up some ground. As you say, the pollsters, the punters, they're all suggesting that the Premier will hold on. But as we build up to that leaders' debate, Pete, your marginal seat debate series amid this campaign is continuing. Palmerston, north of Brisbane, comprises part of Bribie Island, Caboolture, and is currently held by LNP member Simone Wilson. Just 0.8% the difference, though, between the parties. The seat, one of the most marginal possible Labor pickup, with Ms Wilson not recontesting. Earlier today, the new LNP candidate Fiona Gaskay went head-to-head with Labor's Ali King in a Courier-Mail debate moderated by Peter Gleeson. Peter, how did it unfold?
It was pretty feisty, Kieran, as they have all been. Last week we saw the same sort of thing, and I think that's really good that we're getting robust debate going on. Now, of course, this is, as all 10 of our forum seats are, this is a bellwether seat. This is a seat that's held by just 0.7% by the Liberal National Party. As you mentioned, we're seeing Simone Wilson vacating the seat, Fiona Gaskay from the Liberal Party, Ali King from the Labor Party. They went at it today, and the first topic that they really went head-to-head on was the state of the economy. Here's one of those exchanges.
When I walk around Palmerston, I hear people saying to me that they feel the need for change because they want to move forward and they have felt restricted, and they are concerned about the lack of plan and the lack of economic detail that this government has provided. We can't hide behind the fact that we've had the highest unemployment in the country for the last 5 years. No, I'm going to finish.
Because
highest unemployment before COVID, highest debt, highest number of bankruptcies before COVID, and now it's even worse. So why would we trust these people?
I think when it comes to trust, there is one government that can be trusted in Queensland, and that's the Palaszczuk government. Because when Deb Frecklington stood up next to Campbell Newman, she said that she was enormously proud of her record in government. And when she was in government, she sacked 14,000 workers.
Now, Kieran, of course, borders and the closure of borders and lockdowns and restrictions have also played out very heavily in this campaign. It's interesting that that particular electorate, Caboolture, very much a Labor part of that electorate, but Bribie Island is retiree central. There are more retirees in that part of the world than any other part of the country, and of course they are saying that in many respects that they're very happy with the way in which Premier Annastacia Palaszczuk has handled this crisis. Here's another one of those exchanges on COVID.
Small business after small business has told me that they are grateful to our Premier for her strong stance on our borders, that it has kept their businesses with their heads above water.
Sure.
And that they
Fiona, what are they saying to you?
Also really glad to have had the support from small business.
Well, I think Ali must be talking to the small businesses in Mayward, because the businesses that I'm talking to in Palmerston
what about the small
absolutely
businesses in
not
St George,
saying
Fiona?
that.
Have you been talking to them?
They are struggling. So the small businesses in Palmerston are screaming. They are so frustrated. They are looking to move forward, and this has pretty much tipped some businesses over the edge.
So are you calling for the borders to be open right now, are you,
I'm
Fiona?
calling for compassion, consistency and common sense approach so that we can get our economy moving again.
Our Premier has had to make tough decisions on the advice of the Chief Health Officer every single day.
Now, Kieran, we know it's a beautiful part of the world. Even Pelicans got a Guernsey in this debate. Conjecture about whether, in fact, Pelicans were being properly allowed to sit on lights. There were some problems last year when spikes were put on the lights by the Palaszczuk government, and, of course, they've subsequently been removed. Here's what they said about Pelicans. There's been a lot of controversy about Pelicans in this electorate, viewers, and it relates to spikes being on light posts. Now, very quickly, Ali, what are you doing to protect the Pelicans?
Oh my goodness! So when I drove across the bridge this morning, there were pelicans sitting on every light post. I will give a shout out to the current member, Simone Wilson, for her advocacy on this issue. I think our pelicans are currently pretty happy.
Fiona? Pelicans.
Well, I'd just like to point out that it was this current government that put up the deterrents for the Pelicans in the first place overnight without consulting the community. And as a result of that, Simone and the community rallied hard and rallied strong and advocated to have them removed.
There you go, Kieran. Pelicans, politics, borders, the economy, it's all happening in Palmerston.
Yeah, they're not the only Pelicans in politics. Thanks, Peter. Great to see you as always.